welcome to Candid Conversations with Chenille. Yes, we're back for another episode on tonight. And so I'm so excited because over the past few months, we've been having some very engaging, insightful, and enlightening conversations as it relates to areas that are real. They may be a little bit raw, but it's always relevant. And so we're here on tonight to add more knowledge to our lives. And so as I think back to October when we started with Men Cry Differently. Listen, guys, it was so phenomenal. We had to have not only a part two, but a part three as well. And we started the new year off with Love's Intermission, from one love to the next love. And then there was our Valentine's month, where we talked about Be My Valentine. The choice is yours. And so we're here tonight for another phenomenal discussion. And we're going to talk about loved yet longing, the hidden struggle. So, how many of us know tonight that everybody wants to be loved? We're loved by somebody in one form or another. We may get the type of love that we want, we may not get it, but at the end of the day, we all want to be loved. And so we're here tonight to delve a little bit deeper and talk about what does it mean to be loved, but yet longing. And so I'm excited to have this discussion on tonight. And so let's jump right in and begin our talk on love. So when we look at just the definition of love, love is so complex. It's impossible to just even define it one way because it consists of our emotions, our behaviors, our attitudes. So many things entail and make up the definition of love. We've all had an opportunity to experience and to exhibit love from our childhood, our youth, our teenage years, our adulthood, and even as some of us have passed where we call it adulthood and now we think we're a little bit grown, but we've all had an opportunity to portray, to display, to exhibit love. And so tonight we want to look at this just a little bit deeper because not only do we have love, of course, there are things that come along with love. Some of the things that we like and some of the things that we don't anticipate. But tonight we're wanting to look at loneliness as it relates to love. And so how many of us know that loneliness, it can be a struggle? And so that's why we call it the hidden struggle, because sometimes we may know it and sometimes we may not know what loneliness is. But it's also something that's considered very complex. Loneliness is also an emotional state. It deals with feelings of isolation, emptiness, and a lack of meaningful connections with others. When we're not able to connect with others, then there may be those chances that we experience loneliness. I came to tell you that loneliness is not something that we should overlook, something that we should consider, hey, I'll get over it. It'll be okay. But loneliness is something that we should actually deal with, because if we don't deal with it, it will definitely deal with us. And so as I began to prepare for this live stream, and as I had the thought of talking about this on tonight, I began to think about the number of relationships that we may be involved in, whether those relationships are from our family, whether they're from social relationships, whether they're from marital or romantic relationships. Needless to say, any relationships has the propensity to produce a level of loneliness. And so loneliness will cause us to go into a state of isolation. Believe it or not, loneliness can cause depression. Loneliness can cause us to withdraw from others. And when we're lonely, it's hard to explain what is happening with us, what is going on the inside of us. You can be in the middle of a crowd, in the middle of hundreds of people, and still be lonely. You can be ministering on a stage, ministering in front of a women's group. You can be encouraging and motivating somebody else and still lonely. You can be saying all the positive things. You can have the right demeanor. You can have the right attitude. You can have the right walk, the right talk. You can be the best parent. You can be the best spouse. You can be the best friend. You can be the best worker, but it still does not deny the fact that you run a chance of being lonely. I would like to step out there and say that at some point in our lives, we have all experienced loneliness. And so we're here to look at, what does it mean to be lonely? What are some of the symptoms of loneliness? And one of the things that I found out when it comes to loneliness, it deals with unmet expectations. And that's where we expect something, but what we expected, it tends to fall drastically short of what was anticipated, what was desired, or what was agreed upon. How many of us can say that we've had these unmet expectations? Whether we know that our behavior, the way that we felt emotionally, was because something was not met, 9 times out of 10, it is because somebody failed us, somebody didn't live up to what they said they were going to live up to, somebody disappointed us, somebody hurt us, somebody left us alone to figure it out. But either way, it amounted to unmet expectations. And so when I think about love, love being such a deep, such a complex word, just the word love itself, it brings about so many expectations. When we say that we love somebody, or when we say that somebody loves us, there's an expectation that comes with that. And when that expectation is not met, then we run a propensity of spiraling. Or if we don't spiral, we get into this little funk. You know how we get into this little funk and we just become quiet. We become withdrawn. We get off to ourselves. And I hate to say, when you're lonely, it hurts. It hurts because it feels like nobody's there, nobody understands, nobody sees me, and nobody relates, especially when it's from someone that you desire to see you. I believe that there are different times in our lives where it may be a friend, because loneliness does not just have to happen in relationships. Loneliness can happen with our friends, especially when we're a better friend to somebody than they are to us. When we're the friend that's always giving, we're the friend that's always giving the advice. We're the friend that's always encouraging and motivating and pushing somebody else towards their dreams. We're the one that always seems to have the right thing to say. We're that one that everybody can call when something is going wrong in their lives. And so I believe that loneliness can also be related to when we're giving more than what we're receiving. You tend to be lonely. And the thing about it is, we can function well in loneliness. We've learned to adjust. We've learned to adapt. We've learned to continue to be strong for others. But loneliness can cause anxiety. Like I said earlier, it can cause depression. And after a while, it can cause low self esteem. So, what do we do? Where do we go? Who do we turn to when we're lonely? I think about so many calls that I get. And sometimes you can sit and you can listen to people and they'll talk about, how much they give and how much they put out and how much they do, only to find out at the end of the day, they're lonely. Lonely will cause you to make some detrimental decisions. Lonely will cause us to do things that we never thought that we would do. Lonely will cause us to revisit some places that we said we would never revisit. And so, as we go a little bit further, I want to be a little bit more transparent with you all on today. When you're lonely, it does not matter. You can marry a man with all the money in the world. You can marry a woman with breasts and butt for days. But if they do not know how to meet your expectations, you run the risk of being lonely. And when you get lonely, eventually, you may sit in a place where you're quiet for a while. You're trying to figure it out. You're trying to do it on your own. Listen, you're trying to read scriptures. You're trying to encourage yourself. But the feeling of loneliness will not go away. It is not something that we can tuck in the back, in the closet. It's not something that we can put it in the back of our minds. But the thing about it is loneliness is going to have some actions with it. Whether you believe that loneliness is going to have some actions, it is going to have some type of actions with it. And when we're lonely, we do things that try and fulfill us, because at the end of the day, ultimately we want to be fulfilled. And so whether that fulfillment comes by way of we want more attention, we'll do whatever it takes to get attention. Loneliness can be the root of what we're doing, and then our actions can be what's displayed, and we'll never connect our actions with us being lonely. Why is it that, why do you think that we revisit things in our minds? We revisit because of unmet expectations. And when our expectations are not met, we're going to set up scenarios. We're going to set up opportunities. We're going to do things because ultimately we want to feel fulfilled. And so our goal is not, we don't think that our goal is to feel fulfilled, but that is our exact goal. I don't care how long you've been saved. I don't care how long we've been married. I don't care how long we've been dating. I don't care if we just made love last night. Yeah, I'm finna get real raw on here. It does not matter if you are lonely, because certain things are only temporary. They're only going to last as long as they're going to last. And then that feeling of loneliness is right there knocking at your door again. And so what do we do with this loneliness? You know why it's a hidden struggle? when we're talking about loneliness because of some of the things that we think about as a result of being lonely. Some of the things that we wish we could do, but we say now we can't do it. Mm-hmm. Some of the things that we think about, and when we think about it, then all these emotions and all these feelings come up. And I want to submit to my ladies that this can become a playground for the enemy. Mm-hmm. Our minds are so expansive, our minds are so vast that our minds can set the scenario for the perfect marriage or the perfect relationship that we don't have. Oh my God, loneliness will cause us to compensate. It'll cause us to compensate by thinking about what could be, what I could do, what I could have. Oh, yes, 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 yes. Loneliness will take us farther than what we want to go. Loneliness will be the thing that causes us to act on something that we shouldn't have never acted on. Loneliness will be the thing that causes us to check our DM when we already know what they're saying. Loneliness is the thing that's going to make us answer the phone when we know we shouldn't answer it. Let me delve a little bit deeper. Loneliness and unmet expectations will cause you to be on the porch talking to somebody you know you ain't got no business talking to. Loneliness will make us smell that cologne. It'll make us smell that sweet perfume, that bath and body works. Loneliness will cause our imagination to be ignited. And once our imagination is ignited, then what do you think that happens? We'll lay right beside somebody thinking of somebody else. laying right beside laying right beside our significant other with our mind on what used to be. I know I'm talking right. I know I'm talking good. Loneliness will have your mind unsettled. Your spirit will be at unrest. And one of the most dangerous things is for somebody to think that they're satisfying you and they're falling miserably short. I'm gonna let that sit. I'm gonna let that just marinate a minute. Because loneliness is dangerous. It's dangerous when we don't even realize that we're lonely. We don't even realize that we're longing for something else. We're longing. We want somebody else in our significant other's body. And the only reason we want it like that is to try to make it a little right. That's tight, right? But loneliness, let me tell you something about loneliness. Loneliness will change your perception. When we're lonely and we long for a relationship that we had in the past, and I want to be clear on this. The relationship can be toxic. It could have been it could have been a relationship that was filled with violence, a relationship that was verbally abusive, a relationship where we were ignored. But when we get lonely, we will pull on if it's only one thing, we'll pull on one thing from a relationship that once was. And I'm going to tell you what the crazy part of this is. We couldn't put up with it in real life, but we can put up with it in our imagination. We didn't want to be bothered with him or her in real life. When it was a real live situation going on, we didn't want to be bothered with it. But when we get lonely and there's no reeling us in, there's no bringing our imagination in, then that one thing that we did like, we'll pull that one thing into our imagination, into this imaginary world, and we'll hold on to that one thing. And there becomes our hidden struggle. Because who are we going to tell? Who are we going to talk to? Now, we'll talk to somebody about, especially women. Women will tell their friend, you know what? I'm lonely. You know, women will be straight up, I'm lonely. Listen, we do this, we do that, but I ain't feeling it. Something's not there, something not missed, something is missing, something not hitting on all cylinders. I ain't feeling it. I ain't feeling that at all. But 9 times out of 10, we're not going to tell them, girl, I've been sitting up thinking about my ex. Now, y'all know we're not finna say that. You know you're not going to, 9 times out of 10, out of all that we tell our girlfriends. Because the thing is, although we're given bits and pieces of information, we want to keep on with that fantasy, because that's the only thing at the time that's fulfilling us. And God forbid, I don't want to be minus that, whatever that is. And so we'll tell our girlfriend everything. I'm lonely, child, this, that, and the third, but never to say, listen, I've started fantasizing. I've started fantasizing about other men. I've started fantasizing about past relationships. I've started to think about what I could be doing if I wasn't doing this. That's good right there. Our minds get away from us. And then women, we already have an idea of what we want anyway. Most of the times when we get married, we already have this picture perfect marriage, this picture perfect. Let's go back from marriage. We have this picture perfect man that's created within our imagination. And everything that we've created is hinged upon us being loved, our needs being met. We want to be fulfilled. We want 9 times out of 10, we want the things we think: money, we want the house, we want a nice car, we want to have a good job, we want security, we want love, we want to be satisfied romantically, we want the bragging rights. Oh girl, he took me to dinner last night and I was so surprised. He gave me a foot massage afterwards. And we have in our mind what it should look like. And so when we get in marriages and we get in relationships, we start off with a ton of patience. And then eventually, because let me tell you something about love. Love requires growth. And so what happens is we sometimes outgrow what was in the beginning. And so this is for men and women. If you fall in love with somebody, at some point in your life, you are going to grow. And I would submit that sometimes one is going to outgrow the other. And when one outgrows the other, then you have those unmet expectations. And unmet expectations opens us up, especially when we start focusing on it. Especially when we start thinking about, I'm not happy, I'm not satisfied. And especially when we start looking at how we think somebody else is in their relationship. Oh, this is good to me on tonight. This is good because loneliness is so subtle, but it's so powerful. Loneliness will be your guiding force. It will be the thing that will drive you right into the arms of somebody else. Loneliness will have you committing adultery. You don't want to be with them long term. You just want that temporary feeling of satisfaction. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. You just want that temporary. When you can be with somebody and send them on their way, it's only temporary. That's why you pick them back up when you're feeling unsatisfied again. Or you make these casual appointments. Oh yeah. And you can get so good with that thing till you time it out to when you know you're going to be feeling lonely again. Oh yeah. I need to be with him every 2 weeks ought to do it. I need to be with her every week because we're trying to fulfill a void that's there. I want to look at something and to talk about this connection. There's a connection between love and loneliness. One of the things that happens is we depend on love to alleviate loneliness. And so therein, that can be a mistake for us because we'll always chase what we think is love. You do understand that we have different perceptions of what love is. We have different needs when it comes to love. Love does not always have to be sexual. It doesn't always have to be intimacy. But we have different needs. We have different needs. We have different perceptions, meaning different ways that we perceive it. We have different ways that we receive love. Because you do know that people can give love, but if that's not what we're desiring at the time, it's not going to fulfill that need. Even though when they're trying their dead level best to fulfill it. And so we look for love to alleviate our states of loneliness. We think that love is the antidote. Well, if they just do this or if they just do that, then I feel fulfilled. Then that'll satisfy me. And then this will happen. And then that will happen. And then I can be happy, because we're looking for love to alleviate loneliness. And then we have to know that loneliness is going to surface in the absence of love. When love is absent, loneliness is going to surface. We can't get around it. We can't deny it. When love is not present, loneliness is. Loneliness easily steps in and takes the place of love. Because you have to understand, when something is missing, something is going to step in and take the place of what is missing. It's a natural. It's going to happen. Some things we invite in, some things we don't. Some things are invited in simply because it's missing. It's like when ladies get pregnant. I heard a gentleman say that a lot of times we'll start to crave what we're deficient in. And we're deficient in love, and this is so crazy. When we're deficient in love, we start craving things that's not good for us. You know, when you get pregnant, your diet changes. Most of the time, we don't have control over what we like now. And some of the things that we wouldn't eat when we were not pregnant, when we get pregnant, we start mixing up everything. You know why? Because we're craving something. When you get lonely, you start pulling from everywhere. Anything that's going to satisfy you, you pulling on it. Whether it's social media, you're going to pull on it. Because social media will allow us to sit in our houses and feel like we're being paid attention to. Mess around to get 100 likes on your post. Mess around to let 5 people share it. Yeah. We'll start feeling satisfied from Facebook. Oh my God. So much so, we'll be sitting right next to our significant other on Facebook. Trying to figure out how many more likes can I get. You know why? Because in our mind, those likes are really likes. And that satisfies me. Oh my God. Oh my God. You can put a post out there on Facebook and sit there and watch it all day. You know why you watching it all day? because you want to see who like you, who like what you said. Because within that post, it gives you validation. It makes you feel special. And don't post a picture. Oh my God. And you get 200 shares. Loneliness will make you go buy a similar outfit to the one you already have just to see if you can get 200 more shares. Oh my God. Loneliness will have you sit there studying your Facebook audience to see what they like about you and what they don't like about you. And it's all judged by the number of likes we get. Oh my God. That's deep. The things that we will lend our attention to because we think somebody like us. And we're craving that. I'm craving to be seen. Oh my God. And I'm not coming down on anybody. I'm just simply drawing your attention to the fact that you may be lonely. Oh my God. It's one thing to use Facebook as a mechanism to empower, to enlighten, to inspire. Boom. But it's another thing to use Facebook and judge your life by likes. You're lonely. You're unfulfilled. You're deficient in something. Oh my God. Oh my God. Facebook. Oh, I'm trying to be good on Candid Conversations. I'm trying to be good. But Facebook will have you exposing more to get more likes. Oh. Facebook will have you going beyond yourself for validation. If you're not disciplined and if you don't understand what's going on in your person, if you don't understand who you are as a person, if you don't understand what you've gone through, if you don't understand the impacts of what you've gone through, if you have not looked at your life because your father wasn't there, if you have not dug deeper because your mother was not there, if you have not come to grips that nobody told you that they loved you, nobody ever hugged you, nobody ever told you that you're more than, if nobody have ever told you that you're a winner, that you're above and not beneath, and all of that good stuff, if you have not looked at those things, then you have no idea who you are. And because you have no idea who you are, you really have no idea of what you will do to get what you need. That's tight. You don't know. We can appear to be so healthy, but inwardly unhealthy. We can appear to be the best wife, the best husband, the best friend, the best daughter, the best co-worker. Oh my God. But loneliness has captivated us. It has taken over our whole mind, our whole thought process, our whole motivation. Loneliness is how we move now. Oh my, I don't care who calling you to do what. I don't care how many platforms you on, for your job, for yourself, for church, for ministry. I don't care how many podcasts you have. It does not mean that you don't deal with loneliness. Sometimes loneliness is the reason that you do everything somebody wants you to do. Loneliness can sometimes be the reason that you lower your standards. Loneliness will be the reason that you want to be liked by everybody. Because at the end of the day, we want to be validated. Oh my God. That's why we can't say we lonely. That's why we can't tell anybody. We can say that we're lonely. Child, I feel so lonely. I don't know what to do. But we not going to say what we doing as a result of feeling lonely. Oh, this is good. You all can, as I'm talking, you can go ahead and put questions out there. You can go ahead and pop your questions up. Counselors have sessions that they do for people that are lonely. It's just like depression. It's just like anxiety. If it is not dealt with, it can become a sickness. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. If loneliness is not dealt with, we begin to die. We begin to lose hope. If we don't deal with our loneliness, oh my God, let me talk to you single ladies. I see you, Minister Maisha, I'm coming to you. Let me talk to you single ladies. If you don't deal with who you are, if you don't deal with who you are, who you've become, you're not going to recognize love. You're not going to recognize what's good. You're not going to recognize what's normal, because prolonged loneliness leads to abnormal behavior, abnormal ways of thinking. Loneliness will drive us to put pressure on people, and they don't have a clue of what's going on. Loneliness will lock you behind a set of bars where you don't even have the key. Oh, I'm talking good. That's good right there. Loneliness will lock you up, and you'll lose the key if you're not careful. Loneliness. Mm-mm-mm. Absolutely. Angelique says it opens the doors to other things. Absolutely. And when you're lonely, those things are not good things. You can only watch a movie so many times. When you're lonely, everything you do that you try to stay out the way, everything that you do will feed into that loneliness. Oh, I'm talking good. When you're lonely, you'll sit and rehash all the old love stories you like. Or you'll start rehashing and looking for your favorite movies that act out how you feel. Diary of a Mad Black Woman. Wait until it's hell. How Stella got a groove back. Love and basketball. Yes. When you're lonely, you start looking for something that you can relate to, something that's going to move you, something that you can pull yourself into. How do you deal with loneliness in a healthy way? Oh, that's a very good question. That's a very good question. So, the way that we deal with loneliness in a healthy way is first understanding that we're lonely. But most of the time, our loneliness, we don't just jump into, okay, I'm lonely. We have to take like a good look at where we come from. Because where we come from tells us a lot about where we are right now if we have not dealt with where we come from. And I want to say that some of our loneliness is not attributed to one thing. Some of our loneliness may be attributed to lack of a mother, lack of a father, uh, um, lack of intimacy, lack of being in a relationship, um, even our jobs, not being accepted, being embraced on our jobs. So there are so many vicissitudes, so many things that contribute to loneliness that we have to understand, I believe, where we come from. Because where we come from, if not dealt with, it only adds to who we are now. And it's so easy for us to make room for what was and what is, what was in the past and what is now. And it's also easy for us to get confused on what's attributing to this loneliness, because most of the time it's easy for us to attribute it to one thing, but it's actually spawned from different things and perhaps different circumstances created. So I would say, in dealing with it in a healthy way, is first knowing where we come from and what has attributed to who we are right now today. And then once we know those things, then we can deal with those things to overcome those things. And as we begin to overcome certain things, then we can replace those things with things that are, I would say, healthy for us. And a lot of times when we start dealing with certain things and we start owning up to certain things, it makes room for the things that are good for us. It's only that when we're in denial about certain things, and I'll talk about myself. When I was in denial about certain things in my life, I couldn't facilitate anything else but the pain, the hurt, the emptiness, the loneliness that came from those things. But when I began to deal with those things that were a part of who I was and where I come from, as I dealt with those things, I could then begin to facilitate and make room for new things in my life. And those new things were healthier things. It was healthy. Mm. I like this. Janita says it can make you come at your mate when it doesn't add to the fantasy love life. Oh my God, that's powerful. That's powerful. And listen, men and women have different expectations. Our expectations are different. Even when it comes to, as she talked about, our love life, what we expect is totally different. Some things are similar, and at some points, we want the same end result. But how we get there is sometimes very much different. And even in that getting there, if we've been dealing with loneliness, all of that is a part of our fantasy, our perception, and what we desire. And men can be lonely just like women. So I'm not just talking about women today. I'm talking about men. Men can be lonely just like women can. Men needs can be unmet just like women needs can be unmet. Women handle it one way, men handle it another way. But some of our ways that we're handling loneliness are the same. Just like women can fantasize about an ex, a man can fantasize about an ex. So loneliness happens across the border for men and for women. I just believe that women are more apt to say they're lonely, and men are more apt to exhibit and do things that will fulfill that loneliness. And it doesn't have to always be sexual. It doesn't always have to be being with somebody else on both ends. Sometimes you delve into your work because you're lonely. Sometimes they always on the golf course. Sometimes they're always hanging out with friends because they're lonely at the house. And they're not going to say, hey, look at here, I'm lonely. No, they got too many muscles for that. But it doesn't take away from the fact that they experience loneliness too. All right, let's see. Sister Toya, how do you get out of the rabbit hole of loneliness when you have a significant other or among others who love you? I think that goes back to my response for Maisha. Most of the time, we really can't deal with anything because we haven't dealt with anything, if that makes sense. If we don't take time to understand where we come from, I keep rehashing that. We'll never, where we come from, I don't care if it was 15, 20 years ago, if we never dealt with it, it's a part of who we are to this day. Salvation does not eradicate what happened to us in the past. It does not make it go away what we didn't get, what we needed. It doesn't take it away from us. I don't care how many times you get prayer. I don't care how many times somebody lays hands on you. Until you get the courage to look back and see what happened to you and what you were left with, men and women, then you're going to be in this rabbit hole of loneliness. Because until we deal with it, it's not going anywhere. You can satisfy it momentarily. You can do things to try to do until we deal with and until we're able to say, I'm lonely, we're going to be stuck. And loneliness will cause us not to be able to express to others what we really feeling on the inside. We won't be able to do it. Why am I talking about loneliness tonight? Because it's a hidden struggle. It's a struggle when you're lonely and when you with somebody. When you're lonely and you're in a relationship, when you're lonely and you're married, when you're lonely and you're divorced, when we have to deal with that. I'm only on here to talk about what's real. A lot of times it seems like it's raw, it seems cut to the point. But I'm telling you that as people, we sweep too many things under the rug. And when that thing has gotten the best of us, that's when we become embarrassed, we're ashamed about it, and all of that. But I came to help us and to let us know that loneliness is not something that we just, yeah, I'm just feeling a little lonely. Loneliness has something attached with it. And the more we go, the more it opens us up. Because I told you, loneliness makes room for things to come in so that we'll be fulfilled. Because ultimately, that's what we want at the end of the day. Am I right about it? We want to be fulfilled. And if we can sit in isolation and think about something and not be judged for it, baby, that mind gone. If we can sit in isolation and loneliness and be laying in somebody else's arms or out to dinner with somebody we can do everything that we want to do right here. We'll fulfill fantasies right here. Oh, that's good to me. Some of us can make it through these bouts of loneliness because it's all happening right here. It's all happening right here. Well, we are at the very end of this segment of Candid Conversations with Chenille. I certainly hope that something that I've said has blessed you and has caused you to really look at your situation in a different light, not to come down on yourself, but to deal with who you are. And the thing that I want to say before I go, that in loneliness, you will always crave more love, even when you have it. Loneliness simply reflects the complexity of our human emotions, our needs, and our desires. It's a reflection that we do have the capacity to grow. It's our drive for a deeper connection, but it also adds to the richness of human relationships when we overcome it. Have a great night, and I will see you next month with more candid conversations with Chenille. Take care.